Okay, so let's have a look at this right leg. As we're coming through to strike the ground, round about here, at this point, Mo's achieving something that we talk about all the time with the runners that we work with. Getting to a point where, as we make initial contact, the foot is underneath the flexing knee. So at this point, if we draw a line straight down, roughly through the middle of the knee, we can see that it's coming down pretty much, in fact in this case, just slightly ahead of the ankle. So he's landing that foot well and truly underneath that flexing knee. Something we see from so many of the runners that we work with, particularly recreational runners, beginner runners, is that as they come down to strike the ground, they are far further ahead of themselves, making that heavy initial contact way out in front of themselves, overstriding, slamming the brakes on stride by stride. Mo's managing to land underneath the flexing knee, which is absolutely ideal, whether you're running at 11-minute miles or whether you're running at just over 4-minute miles, which is what Mo's running his 5K at this particular pace. So there's a bit of a constant there. Now, what's important to remember is that as he strikes the ground, being a distance runner, if we looked very roughly at managing to strike the ground underneath his hip, which is so often a cue which you hear bandied around, of course he's way ahead of his hip, way ahead of his centre of mass. If Mo was a sprinter, if Mo was sprinting, he'd be getting a lot closer to underneath his hip. You look at Olympic sprinters, you get this great slow-mo footage, they get very close to landing truly underneath their centre of mass. But any distance runner, if we go through this level of analysis, we'll see that they land just that little bit further ahead of themselves. A sprinter only has to work 100, 200 metres. Of course, Mo here running 5K, he's got to find that middle ground between effective, relaxed stride and, of course, efficient stride. So finding this point where he's landing just underneath that flexing knee is ideal. We can see here as he gets to toe off, so we get to that point where the toe just leaves the ground. Here we're looking at the trail leg here. At this point, if there's a simple little rule of thumb that you can look at any given runner to see if we're getting a good combination of hip extension on the trail leg, hip flexion on the lead leg, it's at this point of toe off we want to see parallel lines. Again, it's the parallel lines that we're starting to achieve here, and again I've drawn very rough lines on here, but you can see where I'm getting at. It's these two parallel lines that allow Mo to get to a point where, because he's created enough hip flexion on the lead leg, he's created enough knee flexion, picking the foot up underneath him, but that's largely elastic recoil because of the pace he's moving at. He can then come and strike the ground, again underneath himself, rather than landing excessively ahead of himself. Okay, so again, for any given pace, we want to get an idea for whether you're lifting your foot up high enough, lifting your knee up high enough. It's those parallel lines. So again, we're on a different stride here, same story. Okay, that's what we need to look for. Now, of course, the height at which Mo's picking his foot up underneath him is again largely a factor of the pace he's moving at. He's running 2 minutes 36 per K. That's super fast. That's 4 minutes 10 per mile. Okay, so very few of us are going to be running at this pace. So very few of us are going to need to lift our heel all the way up to our butt in the same manner as Mo is here. Okay, but it's the combination of how high he's lifting his foot up underneath him and how quickly he's turning his legs over. So essentially how he's covering the ground in flight phase by picking that foot up, and the number of times he's doing per minute, which allows him to run at that pace, or particularly run at that pace without overstriding. Now, not just without overstriding, he's also managing to do so without particularly expending too much energy up and down. So if we drew a line in parallel with the track here, so if we drew a line here, and we'll just let this run through, there's very little unnecessary vertical displacement. Of course, Mo is going up and down, and you need to be able to cover the ground stride by stride. But actually, if we look at how steady his head is as we go through this, steady his head is, steady his hips are, we don't see the same kind of uncontrolled bouncing as we see from so many of our overstriding, plodding kind of recreational runners. So again, that's a function of high cadence, so Mo's running kind of low 180s here as he's turning his legs over very quickly, and not overstriding, not expending excessive energy braking with each stride. He's landing efficiently underneath that flexing knee, allowing him to maximise the propulsive force, then pushing off rather than dealing in excessive braking to begin with. Of course, Mo's torso is very upright. Okay, there is a gentle forward lean, but I would expect that forward lean as a function of the pace that he's running at, rather than something he's consciously trying to force. Again, what we do see is the relaxed nature of the shoulders. Okay, short lever of the arms, so we can see that the arms are maintaining this sub 90 degree angle at the elbow the whole way through, and he's managing to, here we go, it's a better view, and he's managing just to drive the elbow back, back, back with each stride, relaxed from the shoulder, creating this nice, efficient, gentle sway that is so characteristic of Mo's running style. Okay, we'll see if we can get a little bit more of a front-on view in a moment. In fact, this is a nice example. So we can see as we run this through, that little bit of a side-to-side swagger, but what we don't see is too much of, there we go, the hands starting to cross the midline. His hands come roughly near the midline, but it's more so just that nice little bit of rotation, the good rotation that we're after through the torso, and the drive back of the elbow each time that allows Mo to sync up the motion of his top half with the motion of what we're seeing with the legs. Now what I mean by that, if we come back to our side-on view, as Mo extends on this side, the trail leg, extends this leg out behind him, we also see him rotate his torso this way. Okay, so he's starting to, as you would expect from any runner and any of us as we walk and as we run, get that opposite rotation of the counter, so it's kind of counter rotation of the pelvis and the top half of the torso, which starts to allow Mo to get that nice little bit of a stretch from shoulder here to hip on the far side here. Okay, now that stretch as the shoulder comes back, so his right shoulder is coming back as he's rotating his torso to the right, as his hip is coming back on the left hand side, so his pelvis is going to be rotating to the left somewhat. It's that stretch across the front on the diagonal that's going to allow him to then release that elastic energy and help him bring the arm through with the opposite leg onto the next stride. Okay, and obviously at this point on the next stride, its opposite side arm is coming into extension here, whilst this opposite hip's coming into extension. Okay, so we're getting that nice cross-body effect in a relaxed, nice, smooth, not particularly forced manner. Okay, very smooth, very relaxed. Mo looks very in control at this point. Okay, so as I've said, I know this is something that Mo's worked on. I know this is something he continues to work on. I've listened to interviews where he's talked about, particularly in latter stages of the race, focusing on maintaining form, and that should be able to be a mindset which trickles down way back to the likes of you and I, who are focusing on running our 5Ks, let's say more like 5 minutes per K, rather than thinking about running our 5Ks at 2 minutes 30 per K. That's crazy fast.